Create with Fran Sidney. Hello everyone, welcome to the show. This is episode 133. I'm very happy to be with you just over 2 years now, working together to find out how to create the life that you deserve. And what are we going to talk about today? Well, it's so hard to come out with new topics. Sometimes, I don't know, but I've been asked very recently, what is the thing with hypnosis? What can it actually do for you? Just tell me, because we know all about coaching. We know about, consultations. We know about counseling. But what can hypnosis do for you aside from relaxing? And I was like, well, let's talk about it a little bit. Who is using hypnosis? As I said many times before, when we are in trance, when we are super relaxed, we can do a lot of stuff that we were not able to do before. And therefore, that's why hypnosis can help us very directly with anxiety, depression, weight loss, and with bad habits. Or for things like low self-esteem, because we go and unpack what's actually going on. And then in a state of calm and concentration, we can really see how to change these programs that we have written. And this is used by everyone. It could be a farmer, you can be a hairdresser, you can be unemployed. Everyone can understand and use the power of relaxation. And you can be stressed, whether you're rich or poor, happy or unhappy. You might be so stressed, so unhappy with your life that you need this extra little kick, this extra help to get to the point where you are making a small change in your life that will allow you to be who you want to be and to live the life that you want. Sometimes our life is just fine, but what we have negative thoughts. And they're very unconscious, they are programmed there because we hear them all the time. Maybe we have super critical people around us, so we read literature that is very negative or that makes us full with fears of all sorts of things, fear of failure, of pain, or abandonment, of disease, whatever. We have so many phobias. If you remember, Michael Jackson was sleeping in a hyperbaric room and he was very worried about germs and dying. So very famous people as well have used hypnosis with great success. We only know a few of their stories, maybe 20 or 30, speaking English woman. And what do we know? We know that these people have been through a problem and they couldn't solve it. And they tried several things. And eventually they said, you know what, I heard about hypnosis. I'm going to try. So that's a very good positive thought. And you can start having negative thoughts. And then among all those, one positive light shines into your mind and says, I need some help. And what do? I'm just going to call someone. So you go on Google, you go to your friends, you go to your doctor, you ask for a referral. Whatever you do is a first step that tells you, you know what, I have enough of this. I want something different from my life. I'm going to do something. And you call perhaps a hypnotist because it's a different way of working with you. And sometimes just 1 to 3 sessions are just perfect. You don't need to go for years and years and years to see a professional for some of the conditions that we might suffer with. So when you think about, for example, David Beckham, he was very famous, of course. He is still very famous because he played for Manchester United until he went to business. He was, back in the 90s when I was a little bit younger, he was very, very famous. And now he's retired and he's having a good life and whatever. But it wasn't all shiny. There were periods of his life when he had anxiety and negative thinking, and he used hypnotherapy to get out of this. And look at his life now. I'm not saying that after hypnosis you're going to be a millionaire, but I'm saying negative thinking can happen even after you have success at work and a good marriage, etc. So there could be just your thoughts that are not allowing you to enjoy what you really want to do with your life, and the normal days become difficult. So in the case of negative thoughts, we go and see what's going on in your mind, what are the voices that you're hearing, where are they coming from, what belief is behind, how does it make you feel, is it familiar, did this happen in the past, and what was going on there. And all of these questions we can ask also in coaching, but when you are in a very relaxed state of trance, it's even easier to work on this, to reprogram yourself. And this could be also the reason why we have so much success when we are trying, for example, to get back into the shape we want, to be fit, to be thinner, because maybe we have a problem with weight. And there are people who were maybe smoking or eating too much because there was a problem underneath. There was an emotion, something that we were thinking, and inside that subconscious need of soothing ourselves, there was this echo from the past. So in hypnosis, we work on that and we get it out, we sort it out, we let you see that's what's going on. And now I'm going to show you how to cope when this thought comes to you even more. I'm going to get that thought out of your mind. It doesn't bother you anymore. It's just words. And so if you pick up, for example, Adele, she's one of the most famous singers in the world. And, 15 years she's been singing or even more. And she's so good. But she was a smoker. And I think she was smoking about 55 cigarettes a day. That's a lot. And she tried many times to stop smoking. But eventually she went to a clinical hypnotherapist. And I think it's about 10 years now, or maybe 12. She hasn't stopped. She hasn't stopped. She has not smoked anymore. Why? Because these hypnosis sessions that she had, by the way, with a very famous person, they were working for her. And so she found that the problem was something. There was a trigger, and every time there was this trigger, she would pick up a cigarette, and now no longer is there. And not only that, but she was actually able to use hypnosis again when she decided to lose weight. Because it's not just going on a quick diet, lose weight by restricting yourself so much that you are dying and obsessed with food. It's about changing the story you're telling yourself when you reach for those ice creams and cheese, all these things that you shouldn't have all the time. And so she has managed it, so everyone can manage, because we all have stress. It's the response that counts, not the event. And hypnosis can be very good when you have, for example, problems sleeping. Now, if there is a physical issue going on and it is being diagnosed by a doctor, that's fine. But sometimes hypnosis is just there that is useful for you, because it is caused by the continuous thinking and ruminating and thinking about the past, thinking about the future, and not being able to switch off. It is different from everyone. So if it is the case, with one single session, you are able to do this, to overcome a problem. Think about the quality of your life when you haven't been able to sleep for many years, and then you realize you can actually sleep like a baby. It's just a huge thing. You're investing in yourself and in your quality of life. So as Kevin Bacon spent decades literally struggling to sleep when he was a very high-profile Hollywood actor, other people struggle to sleep for other reasons. But if your reason is emotional, hypnosis can help. In my episode, I very often talk about clients who had anxiety and low self-esteem, and that's what happened to Reese Witherspoon. She had a lot of that problem. She was not really thinking much of herself in her career, despite being so famous, you think. And so she was having panic attacks. So she was really believing that something bad was going to happen to her if she took a certain action. And she had hypnosis, and she no longer suffers with that. And I do have a client that I mentioned maybe twice in my episode who had not been out of her house for 4 years because of continuous panic attacks. She was terrified and she couldn't enjoy her life, and she was very, very young, in her 20s. But then after one single hypnosis session, we went out, we went to the grocery store, we had an hour outdoors, not a problem. And it's been a year, she's absolutely fine. Her life has changed. Yeah, she paid for it, and she didn't pay an NHS price. She paid a private price, but she has a new life, and it's completely different. She invested, she decided that was it, and she had tried different therapies before. They didn't work, but this time it was perfect timing. She was really on the edge. She was ready to change. She did all the exercises, and there she is, creating a new life, and I'm so happy for her. Now let's talk about chocolate and sweet things. I love chocolate and I love sweet things, and I got this tendency that if I have some in front of me, I can't stop. So what I do, I just don't buy too many, or I buy sugar-free, and I still try not to eat too much because it's not good. But sometimes it may happen because of the circumstances, or your fridge being full, or your mom bringing you lots of stuff, or whatever habit you have, you're always craving sugar. You're always craving chocolate. And so this can be a big problem. And if that is taking you to have cavities or candida or infection, yeast infection, obesity, or feeling like you're hypoglycemic with the blood sugar going up and down, then it's a time to think, hey, can I curb this? And you don't need to go on a diet. What you need to do is see, why are you doing it? What is your trigger? Think about Orlando Bloom. He, when he was younger, had cravings for sugar all the time. So his mom said, oh, this is not happening anymore. We have to stop it. And so he was taken to a clinical hypnotherapist, and he lost the weight, and he changed his way of looking at food. And this doesn't happen anymore with him. Why? Because it's not about putting yourself on a diet and say, well, I'm going to limit my chocolate to one a day every day at 4 o'clock, and that's it. Well, no, it's about thinking, what is taking you to this issue? What is taking you to the cupboard? What is your trigger? And when you start looking at that, when you start to think about the feeling that you want to create, and how else can you create that feeling, then hypnosis is so good, because it will go deep down into the problem, and he might actually go into the past. But don't worry about that, because you will not get a trauma again. You will be viewing scenes, if there is any scene, as if you are watching a movie, so you don't feel like that. And bringing back some memories sometimes can actually help so much to clear them. But sometimes you don't need to go there. You just think about the feeling, work on the feeling, and substitute that with a different visualized thing, that something that you create with the hypnosis session, and with a recording that, in some case, when we do RTT, for example, we give to the client, and he listens for a couple of months to rewire the neuropaths that tell you have to go now and have a piece of sugar or a candy, however you call it, chocolate. And we all love chocolate. Chocolate, cacao is good for you. But once you start adding all the fats, and it becomes so amazing, doesn't it? And then in the industry, they will add a lot of sugar, and that's the problem. Because sugar will make everything taste nicer afterwards, and will make you want to eat more. And so what can we do about it? We have to see what can we do in our brain to change this chemistry that is happening. So it's absolutely possible to reduce this tendency to eat too much of a sweet stuff, so that we can have a normal life instead of being always worried about the next diet, which, they don't really work. Instead, it's better to work on establishing something that you can keep for the rest of your life. So not be so sedentary, and do movement every day, or do some exercise every day, so that it's easy to keep the weight off and to curb those cravings that you might have. Other times you can use hypnosis because you're interested in focusing and having a really good performance at sport. So for example, Tiger Woods, who probably is the greatest golfer that I can think of, he was back in the 90s, very, very famous, and there were problems there, and the problems were not very big. Basically, he wanted to improve his swing, and he did. He improved it until he became so good, probably the greatest sportsman that we can think of. And I would say when you use visualization, exercises, and hypnosis together, you can be so focused and not distracted that you can really, really improve that performance and have less of the problems that you have when you play the particular sport. And you can apply this as well about speaking in public, performing, singing, and just being a person that is very much in the eye of the world. Everybody knows what you're doing. So people like Kate Middleton or others, when they were in the beginning worried about public speaking, they went to hypnosis sessions to get what they wanted, to get that peace and calm. I can do this. Yeah. So just because you're famous, that doesn't mean that you're automatically calm and able to be relaxed. That doesn't mean that at all. last week I read that Winston Churchill, who was a very famous leader, and he was also a prime minister in the 1940s, he realized that he was under a lot of stress, and it was very difficult for him to focus, to keep his stress under control. And so he used hypnotherapy to be able to get this focus, and he was eventually able to lead the UK to victory when they were in the Second World War. And focus is a big thing. I was talking to one of my friends, a student. She was going to study for the final bar exam for law school, and she was very worried. I can't focus on this, I can't focus on that, I'm wasting so much time. But we had it. We had one session and she passed high fly, all perfect, because she was able to focus so much. So it's been used in the past, it's been used in the present. Hypnosis really works. You know, I was talking about stage fright. Even Mel B from A Spice Girl, she had stage fright, and she used clinical hypnosis to be calm during live performances. Do you know what happens, right? You are there, you have to open the door and arrive, and there are all these people looking at you, and suddenly your legs are jelly and your body is shriveling and your voice is there is a frog there in the throat, something is not right. You forget everything you wanted to say. What's going on? You're having stage fright. And I do know a person who was taking pills for that, beta blockers, I think, or beta blockers. And I was like, that doesn't help. Why are you having this stage fright? There's only one reason, because the body goes in fight or flight. The cortisol level goes up, and of course you lose control. The frontal cortex is like, wow, what's going on here? So you're only trying to breathe and survive. And therefore you forget everything else. It's pretty much like being dipped suddenly in cold water. You forget what's going on and what to do next, and you're hyperventilating. But we do know that there are reasons for that, and we can tackle them with hypnosis and later on with coaching. And not only that, but I teach you all the exercises that you can do, such as box breathing, and they help you so much to get the breathing under control, to be still, to be relaxed, and to really enjoy the experience. Because of course you don't want to arrive there and forget your lines or whatever. So that works for example, acting jobs, singing jobs, or a person that has to give a presentation at work and he or she is always worried, oh my gosh, I'm not going to remember anything, the big boss is there. But you know, these are just people like you. Some people are more polished and refined, some people are in the beginning, but we can all get there. So if you need some help, just drop me a line and see if I can help you, because most of the time it is possible to resolve everything. I work with you for a whole month. So it's not that you have one session, then another, then you keep paying another session. No, I just work for a whole month. We get to all the problems that you have and you can solve. We work on them, and it's a fixed price. So you don't have to worry about, paying and paying and paying. You paid once and it's all sorted out. And during this month, I really follow you. What's going on? Can we tweak this? Can we change that? If you done your exercise, if you done this, and you take an action. And with that, you have this one-to-one bespoke therapy. That's what you really need. You need to be helped to go from A to B. And I don't let you go until you have finished, meaning the problem will be solved. Because guess what? I don't take any client unless I know that we can have results. So if I'm not sure we're going to have results, I'm like, I'm going to refer you to a friend who's very good with this. But I'm not very good with this, so I'm going to just let you go with somebody else. That's how good it is. For those of you who like history, I don't know if you know of Sergei Rachmaninoff. He was a very, very famous musician. I have listened to some of his music and it's incredible. And he suffered from depression for 3 years because his first symphony was very much a failure. It was very criticized. And so he went to see one of the pioneers of modern hypnosis, Dr. Nikolai Dahl. And he had this block because he couldn't write music anymore. And he had all these sessions. And when he finished the session, he emerged with great success because he created one of the world's greatest pieces of music, his Piano Concerto Number 2, which everyone knows. And it is quite fun because also another musician, Chopin, he studied hypnosis at university, and also Goethe, he did that as well. So all these people studying it. And I found out that even Nikola Tesla, he is the one that, we all know because the alternating current electricity and blah, blah. He used trance to be able to explore and be creative about these ideas of what could happen in the future. And about Thomas Edison? Another one. He practiced self-hypnosis regularly. What does that tell you? It tells you that when you actually invest time in yourself to just sit down there, ponder, think, maybe sit in nature. The famous story of sitting there under the tree and then the apple falls on your head? Oh yeah, gravity. Yeah, it just, when we are still, it's when we're still in a session or not in a session, when we listen to the recording and we get those impressions of what really has to change. What is going on here? What is that my experiment needs to hit at? What is the law of something? Oh, and now that gives me an idea. Let's talk about Einstein. Yes, Einstein. Maybe, some young people today might heard the name of Albert Einstein and they might think, oh yeah, he was a baby genius and then he created the theory of relativity. Well, actually, no, because he was actually dyslexic and he was very quiet at school, and he was actually expelled from one of his schools because apparently he wasn't able to do much and he failed lots of exams. So you wouldn't think of him as the most incredible person when he was young, but he was very, very young when he came up with the theory of relativity. And but one thing that I like about Einstein, he always said that we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking that we used when we created them. And he applied this all the time, and this is a hypnosis principle as well. So what he did, he realized, well, I'm thinking in this way and I have to break free from this way because it's not helping me to go ahead in my search. And so, remember, he was a physicist, so, we're not just going to talk about creativity, it was creativity and science together. So what he did is, I want to break free, what can I do? And so he learned about hypnosis, and every afternoon he will have an hypnosis session. I don't know if he was having that on his own or with a hypnotist, that I don't know. There are lots of letters written by his sister, etc. And during one of his sessions, he wrote, that's when I wrote E equal MC2 something quadratic, however you read it in English. And that's incredible. And if you think about it, it's about these trance periods. It's about your dream that you come out with these ideas when you're free to roam, when you don't have boxes. And so think about Mozart and Edison. They had this inspiration from the dreams. There was a dream also for Paul McCartney when he wrote the melody of Yesterday. And so you should think, wow, that's quite a thing. So what does hypnosis give you? It gives you that. It gives you the capacity to go deep down inside yourself, to see what's really going on, why it's happening, how can you change it, and then it gives you that focus to get the problem out of your life. So, dear friends, thank you for listening to me. I hope that I explained a little bit more of what hypnosis can do for you. What are you waiting to change your life? It is not a big event that will change your life. Most times it will be the small daily things you do every day. And these are the familiar things that we do out of habit, even if they're not useful, like the cigarette in the moment you wake up. So think about all this. What can you do that is different? How can you be helped to move to the next step so you create the life that you want by changing your habits? And this is made a lot easier if you have an hypnosis session or two, and then you support yourself with 1 or 2 coaching sessions if necessary to get those things done faster and to have that mentorship, that accountability partner to get you to have those results. So whether you are a nobody, just trying to be more productive at work during the day, or maybe you're a really, really busy mom or dad and you get stressed out when your children do something and then you go and hit off with a bottle whatever your problem is, you can always come here and ask, can you help? And we can just talk about it and see what is the problem, and then I'll tell you straight away, yes, I can help you, let's have a session, or like, no, I'll send you someone else. But you really have to give it to yourself the chance to give it a go, because hypnosis is the most incredible way of really going around this problem with calmness and seeing with different eyes, and really get to know who you are and how you can get the best of yourself out of this. So thank you for being with me, and I hope to hear from you soon. Take care. Bye. You have listened to Create with Franz Sidney.